was driving by down here and I noticed up here there's the back end of about a 1985 Ford sticking out that may be a Thunderbird. And if it's a Thunderbird, it may be a turbo coupe. And if it's a turbo coupe, there's a chance that the guy at this house is a real serious Ford guy. And you never know what he might have in his garage. Yeah, that's a turbo coupe. Maybe an 85 or an 86. You just don't see those anymore. Back in the day, it was a real performance machine. And this one looks like it's all there, but there's something in the garage there that looks like a collector Ford of some kind. See if this guy's here. Hello? Anybody here?
Yeah. We help you?
Hey buddy, I was just walking by and I couldn't resist asking you about your Fords here.
Oh, we got a couple Fords.
Hi, I'm John.
Yeah, hey John. Bruce.
Hey Bruce, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
I'm the American Car Prospector and I locate cars. I do a lot of this where I'm prowling around looking for people working on interesting old cars.
I see.
This looks like a Mustang.
This would be a 69 Mach 1.
Nice. Well, now that's a real serious piece of American heavy metal there.
Yeah, I think so.
What are you doing to it?
Well, actually, I'm in the process of putting power steering on it.
Oh yeah, you just had enough of that old...
The old, Armstrong steering, and it's got what we call a rim blow.
It had the rim blow on it as well.
Steering wheel, and when you're in a tight spot, you're beeping the horn. So, thus, some hoses and pulleys and all that good stuff.
You do this work yourself?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's terrific. Let me
Yeah.
see what you're up to, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it had, it had manual brakes on it, old drum brakes. So
Right.
I pulled those off and put the disc brake package on it.
Wow, that thing weighs a ton, too.
Yeah, they're real heavy and they don't stop very good.
You know, that just shows you the difference in what we do in today's hot rodding compared to where we were years ago.
You betcha.
You know, I mean, that's just so...
You think about the old days, these cars would go like a son of a gun and they put manual brakes on them.
They had a
And
whole lot...
small tires.
A whole lot more go than whoa.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
this holding this in my hand, the resonation I get from it is like a Ford Falcon.
pretty much.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't really feel like the Mustang legacy. It feels more like, Robert McNamara and the in 1960 the Ford Falcon is exactly what that feels like to me.
You bet. They did make them, wide. These are like 2 1/4 inch shoes.
As opposed to
width. Whereas a lot of them were 2-inch shoes. So they did try to help you out with thicker lining.
Right.
So.
But still, I mean, that's like,
Oh yeah, I've driven it, and it doesn't. You got to watch ahead.
Well, show me what
Big
you're
time.
doing here to
Well,
this.
the disc. It took new spindles, back plates. The rotors, calipers, and I got all this stuff from a buddy of mine from a '68 Ford Torino,
No kidding.
which is the same setup.
Right.
And now I'm starting on the power steering, which you have all new linkage. You got a power steering ram and the hoses and such that go up to the pump. So.
Wow. Well, this is really cool that I get to see this while you're working on it.
Oh, thanks.
Once the wheel's on it, you can't see any
No,
of this, you know.
And an interesting thing, I got all this stuff from a pick and pull junkyard for like $25.
Really?
They called it a rack and pinion.
Right, right.
And if you go to buy this stuff from the catalogs, I'd be into this thing for about $1,000.
I was going to
if
say.
not more.
Right, 1,200
Yeah.
out the door.
Yeah. So, it's kind of a bargain type deal, and it'll make the car, steer better and in tight spots.
Sure,
So,
I mean, it'd just make it drive more like a contemporary car.
yeah, you betcha.
Look at how nice and dry this car is. I mean, it just is absolutely beautiful underneath.
Well, this car originally came from Georgia, It ended up here in Denver. A fellow up in Bailey, Colorado, had it, and he sold it to another gentleman that had a 70 and a 69. This one, and him and his son were going to rebuild the 69 and never got around to it, so I bought it. And I've had it for like 12 years between kids going to college and all that good stuff. Finally got it done here last summer.
Now it's time for Dad to have some fun.
Hey,
huh?
you betcha.
Nice. Well, I'd really like to look at it. Do you mind if
Yeah,
we pull the covers and stuff on?
Sure.
But before we do that, though, Bruce, I got to ask you something. You know, I've been in a lot of shops before, and I just can't remember seeing plastic bags hanging from the ceiling.
Well, that's kind of a old trick I learned. I repainted the hood. It's a flat black hood, and when you see it, when we get it uncovered, you want to keep the dust and dirt down. And obviously, I'm not in a nice paint booth, so you hang up the bags, and that keeps static electricity, and it collects dust and overspray from getting on your product.
So by dangling a half dozen of those off the ceiling, it helps to attract some of that
You bet.
matter so it doesn't land on your car.
You betcha.
I have never even heard of that
Yeah,
before.
it's something we did in the past, I guess.
I think
we
that's-
we were always painting cars in areas that are not conducive to probably painting cars.
Sure.
So
that's kind of an old hot
kind of an
rodder's trick.
old trick.
What paint coat is this?
It's called lime gold. I can't remember the code right offhand, but it's a base clear coat.
And I remember this color when I was a kid, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it, but it's what is original with the car. But they brought it back in about 2005 on Mustang.
Okay.
And so you see a lot of red ones, blue ones. This one, you get the trim on it, the stripes, and all that stuff. It sets it off.
Well, now this is an honest to God Mach 1. This isn't a clone.
No, this is a real deal.
And does that engine match?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's a 351 Windsor. It's original 4-barrel engine, numbers matching to everything on the car.
So this is the real deal.
This is a real deal.
Yeah. Gosh, how many years did you say you'd owned it?
I've had it 12 years.
12 years. Wow.
We'll kind of uncover it a little bit here, John. That way you can see what we're looking at.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that.
But yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. See, this is how you know this is a muscle car when they tell you that it is a 351. Okay? I mean that's when we know that this is serious business when they go ahead and let you know that this is a real Mach 1 with the 351.
Yeah, you could get them the 351 or 390 or 428, two different 428s and 69. But really, I was down at Barrett Jackson here last week, and they had a whole bunch of 428 Cobra Jets, but they had like one of these.
Is that right? Yeah. I watched.
Maybe it's a little bit rare.
I watched those Cobra Jet cars come across the block, and those seem like you could probably buy some of those pretty right. You know what?
Well, not bad. I mean, they're a lot more than a small block.
Right.
So it's.
But truthfully, Bruce, doesn't the small block actually drive a little nicer than the big block?
Yeah, they're probably, I'm guessing, 250 pounds lighter than a big block. So they handle a little bit better, and but you don't have that straight line, big punch to it. So.
I can't resist. Let's uncover the rest of it
Sure.
so we can have a look at it.
I haven't had it out of the garage since probably last summer sometime.
Wow. So the white interior is that?
Yeah.
That looks like it's original.
The back seat's original.
The back seat is original.
Others have been reupholstered.
Sure.
It's got the original carpet and original side panels. The door panels, I actually had those rebuilt. You can buy reproductions. You can look inside if you want.
But you had the door cards built again.
Yeah, these are rebuilt by a fellow in South Carolina.
Really?
But he puts new carpet on them and new vinyl, cleans all the trim up. But the concours and everything on them are all correct.
You gotta love that Mustang badge, I mean, that's just one of the most iconic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the red, white, and blue Mustang.
You know, I found a T5 recently,
Okay.
and it was strange. Of course, it didn't say Mustang.
Right.
It said T5 on
Right.
it. And to be honest, it threw me back for a minute there. I didn't do anything with the car because it was a car that just probably wasn't worth owning,
Okay.
even though it was a rare
Yeah.
T5. And it was a coupe, which doesn't really turn my crank very much.
Okay.
But anyway, I did find a T5 recently, and I noticed right away the badge was just different.
They're very, very rare.
Very
That
rare.
was the German, you know, the name Mustang was already done in German, and I guess they just called it a T5 to get it imported into Germany.
Sure, so they didn't have a brand problem.
Right,
Right.
right.
Wasn't a Mustang a scooter or something over in?
I'm not sure.
I heard that it was some type of a motorcycle
Yeah.
or a go-ped or something like
Yeah.
that.
But, you know, as far as the interior, like I say, I did the seat covers. There's a fellow down in Phoenix that actually rebuilds these steering wheels. And I had him rebuild that. He does an excellent job. And, you know, the rest of the dash is original except the cover. 4-speed car, which was an option back then.
You don't have the build sheet on this, do you?
Yes, I do, and I've got a couple other things I'll show you here.
No kidding. Wow, this has got some documentation.
Yeah,
on it, huh?
yeah.
Nice car. You haven't ever thought about selling this, have you, Bruce?
Oh, geez, John, not really. Like I say, I just got the thing going, and I've got about 600 miles on it since I finished it.
So yeah, it's not much of a conversation right now, huh?
But yeah, there's a fellow down in Phoenix also that does these. He has all the original Ford invoices, and this baby was invoiced to the dealer at $2,800, and the suggested retail on it was $35.
Right.
So you can tell the difference of what you got going on today.
And that 4-speed was a $200 option.
Yeah, $200 option.
And then was that just for the 4-barrel, the extra 20
Yeah,
bucks there
20,
for?
$25. You know, the base engine was a 2-barrel.
Wow.
But the 4-barrel got you the dual exhaust and you know, the tips coming out the back end and all that stuff.
Fantastic. I would love to hear this run.
Oh, we can probably fire it up.
You think it might start if we?
It hasn't started for a little bit, but we can see what.
Well, I can't
See
resist.
what she'll do, long as you're handy.
Yeah, I wouldn't hurt my feelings if you'd start this up. You know, for a car guy like me, this is about the best,
Well,
the best use of my afternoon I can think of. Let's see if she'll go here. Now that's what I'm talking about, an honest to gosh exhaust note.
Yeah, it's got a little note to it. I put the electronic ignition on it, the Petronics they call it, and you get rid of the points and condenser. And if you have fuel, it'll start like it's fuel injected.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that electronic ignition, it drops in the distributor, and it's easy to put in. It takes about 30 minutes to put it in, and you got electronic ignition.
Does this have a true dual exhaust?
Yes.
And is it iron manifold?
Yes.
So it's the factory iron manifolds into dual exhaust?
Correct.
And then does it go into the double tip just from a muffler?
Yeah. This one's got twin mufflers, then it goes over the rear end, then out the exhaust.
Hey, give it a little gas, would
Yeah,
you?
sure. They can be a little cold-blooded.
Still not quite warmed up, huh?
No, it's got the original carburetor on it.
Right.
And you know, you got fast idle and choke you got to deal with. So.
Wow, what a great car.
Oh, thank you. But like I say, I rebuilt the engine, did the tranny, you know, rings and bearings. The car's got about 112,000 on
Okay.
it, and the engine was, you know, it had a little ridge on the top of the cylinders, but other than that, bearings, seals, that's it.
Let's take a look at the engine.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that electronic ignition goes right in the original distributor. You don't have to mess with anything. It's just a module that fits in the distributor. So it's an easy change.
It just snaps right in?
Yeah, pretty much. But like I say, this thing doesn't have any power steering on it, which is what I'm working on now. Other than that, she's all the way it came from Henry Ford.
You know, I'm a big fan of putting the cutoff on the battery.
Right.
I think you should always have that on a collector car.
Well, the reason I did that, John, is the original clock still works.
Right.
Okay. And I don't want that clock running all the time. So therefore, that's why I put the disconnect on it. Plus, if you ever had a short, you don't want the thing burning down.
Reduces the fire risk.
You bet.
And makes sure that the battery's always up when you go to start it.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best and easiest things you can do to keep your car working for you when.
Yeah, and you know, I put a battery tender on it in the winter time just to keep that battery, you know, charged up and things of that nature. But like I say, that clock still works. You see a lot of them, the clock doesn't work. You know, there's a little flywheel inside that clock that winds the spring and all this stuff. It's rather complicated. So.
Boy, I mean, that motor's just sitting there. It isn't even.
It's pretty good.
But you didn't fully rebuild it, just seals and.
Yeah, I put rings, main bearings, rod bearings, polished the crank, but it's still all the original crank and cylinder heads. You know, just touched up the valves.
It's got hardened valves now.
No, they're still the original valves.
Really?
Yeah. So, really, the engine. You know, water pump, timing chain. That's about it. I got probably $300 in the engine and labor.
Right.
You know, which is free.
Right. Well, this is just a pristine car. I mean,
thank you.
There's no wrinkles in it. It doesn't have any of the usual crash damage you see. The chrome is all perfect. It's 100% complete. I mean, even look at this grille. I mean.
That's still the original grill.
I mean,
you can get repos and such, but that's the original grill.
I mean, you just look at how good that grill is. It's remarkable, you know.
It still fits good, and you know, and some of these eyebrow pieces, you can buy these repo with them. I bought some, and they don't fit very good.
Is that right?
These were caved in a little bit, so you beat them back out and buff them and file them. You can make them look like this.
Right.
So,
well, I got to hear that exhaust. So let's walk back there and give it a little gas again. Should be warmed up by now, huh?
She ought to be.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Love everything about it.
Yeah, see, now it's knocked down back.
Now it's down on idle.
Back down on idle.
Right.
So, but you know, it's got a new headliner in it.
I can't resist. Can I try the rim blow?
We can try it. There you go. The horns are a little weak right now.
You know, that might be the last time I get to do a rim blow Ford steering wheel, you know?
Well,
there just aren't that many of them left, and there's not that many that work.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
So, so the car's definitely not for sale, huh?
I don't think at this point, John. You know, who knows what can happen, but they sold one of these down at Barrett Jackson it went for about $39,600. And that was with the commission that those guys get.
Right.
And I don't think it was as good as this one.
Well, the question is
you know,
would the money make you happier than the car?
Well, that's a good question.
Because that's always the question.
You know, probably not, because they're not going down in value.
Right.
It's something I like messing around with, and when you drive it down the street, you get some pretty good looks, and you know, it's fun.
Well, I tell you what, how about I give you my contact information, and maybe when you ever do come to that point in time,
that would work.
you might give me sort of like a first right of refusal on it.
we could probably work something out like that.
Okay, because
You bet.
I'm in no hurry. I can be very, very patient when it comes to these kinds of things.
All right.
Extraordinarily patient. More patient than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, well, you're probably finding them every now and then. so-
Well, you know, though, you're going to look a long, long time before you find a Mustang that is as complete and as well cared
Oh,
for
thank
as
you.
this is.
Thank you.
Let's shut her down.
Sure.
I mean, when you
Yeah, the hydrocarbons are probably getting to you.
a little bit. But I mean, I could listen to that music all day. I mean, that's music to my ears when I hear a 351 4-barrel.
That's pretty neat stuff.
So the car is very definitely not for sale,
Not at this point, I don't think,
huh? Okay.
John.
I just had to try once more.
But,
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll do the right of refusal deal. I suppose we could work something out there. But
All right. And then
I just haven't put enough miles on it and enjoyed it enough. You know, like I say, I just got it going last summer, and I got about 600 miles on it.
so maybe it'll be a while, huh? Well, then let's just sort of agree to disagree, and maybe you'll give me first shot at the car if it ever does become available.
Sounds like a deal to me, John.
Fair enough?
You betcha.
Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah. Well,
I appreciate you.
you stopping by, and I'm glad to, show it to you.
Glad to know you too, and I promise I'll be in touch, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, good luck with
All
that
right,
power
good luck,
steering.
Good luck hunting.
All right.
See ya.
Well, I got lucky today. I didn't get to find a car, but I met a real serious car guy that had a beautiful Mach 1 Mustang. I mean, one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. This guy was really nice. He agreed to just let me look at the car. I noticed the back end of a Ford Turbo Coupe, a Thunderbird Turbo Coupe sticking out as I was going past on this street about a half a block from here. And so I walked down and I was looking at it, and then I could see in the garage that there was a fastback Mustang under some covers. And this guy was underneath the car working on the power steering and the brakes. And he ended up showing me the whole car and looking at the garage stuff with me and talking about his first car. Really a nice guy. I'm pretty good at, getting people to talk to me, but this guy was just really a super nice guy. I really enjoyed meeting him. And man, I'm telling you, that Mustang is super sweet. I'd really like to lay my hands on it at some point, but he was tough. He said he'd only put 600 miles on it. He wouldn't go along with it, so I guess what I better do is go get back to work.
Well, I'm underneath it, I'm putting power steering on it. This fella comes up and, wants to see it. He saw the Thunderbird sitting there, and I guess he thought I was a car guy, and I had it all covered up, and he found out it was a Mustang, so he wanted to look at it and everything. Gave him a little history on it and such, and I guess towards the end of it, he wanted to buy it, and I'm not in the selling mode at this point, so gave him first right of refusal if I ever do get around to selling it. So, but real nice guy, he just out looking at cars, and don't blame him for that. So, it's a good hobby to be in.